One of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history, just miles from San Antonio. What News 4 has just learned from law enforcement about today's horrific attack, including the search for the suspected gunman. Complete team coverage starts now.
Airline right there.
And we begin with breaking news, a mass shooting at the First Baptist Church in Sutherland Springs. This is all happening about an hour southeast of San Antonio. We are hearing at least 25 people are dead, 30 more wounded. Right now, multiple law enforcement agencies are on the scene. Texas DPS, the FBI, the San Antonio Police Bomb Squad, the Wilson County Sheriff's Office, and more.
World Car Sky 4 is live over the scene right now. You can see that the parking lot in the church has been blocked off, the streets around it. We have many first responders vehicles there right now. You can see that many first responders still there and investigators trying to piece together what happened at about 11:30 this morning. News 4 San Antonio's Zach Hedrick is also in Sutherland Springs, where the shooting took place, and community members are coming out in full force to help everyone there. And Zach, how can people help Sutherland Springs community members?
Well, this Red Cross from San Antonio, they're out here helping, so any donations, I guess, should be directed to the San Antonio chapter of Red Cross. There's a bunch of help being sent this way. We're actually just a block south of the First Baptist Church where the shooting happened this morning. Just within the past hour, we had to move over here because we were by the community center, but we were told by state troopers that they had to expand the crime scene because they found some shell casings in between the church and the community center. But lately, people since this morning have been flocking to the community center. That's where neighbors, relatives have been gathering, waiting for more information as it becomes available. A pastor of another church says they actually heard about the shooting as they were in Sunday worship service.
And our church went to praying for these are all our friends. We're going to know every name that comes out of that building there.
That was Pastor Frank Buford. He helps worship at a church just up the road from the First Baptist Church, a couple miles from here. He really spoke to the tight-knit attitude of this community, and we're already seeing that. People have been donating food, water supplies. I saw a couple earlier, just hours after the shooting, bringing food over from a Dollar General. So already the spirit of generosity is being shown here in Sutherland Springs. Back to you.
Thank you, Zach. Some of those who were injured, survived, but are wounded have been brought here to San Antonio and surrounding areas for treatment. News 4 San Antonio's Camilla Rambaldi joining us now live outside of Floresville's hospital. And Camilla, what are you hearing there?
Robert, I just confirmed with the hospital here that 3 shooting victims have been treated and released. 1 remains in stable condition here tonight. In total, 8 shooting victims were brought here in Floresville. 4 of those have been transferred to University Hospital for a higher level of care, and 1 of those victims was in critical condition and had to be airlifted. I've also learned 9 more victims from the church have been taken to University Hospital. That number includes 4 children. And back out here, we tried to talk to some of the families. Obviously, everyone is beyond distraught right now and did not want to talk to us on camera. We saw a lot of family members hugging each other, crying. Overall, just a very emotional day for everyone surrounding this area. And if we get another update on any of the other victims, I will make sure to bring it to you guys.
Camilla, thank you for that. University Hospital is also treating patients from this shooting. We caught up with one woman who says she's still waiting to hear about her loved one.
We don't know yet. We thought she was shot in the arm, but she's ended up shot in the shoulder. So we're not sure exactly if the bullet came out or if it's still lodged in there. So they transferred her from Wilson County Memorial to the university.
And we will, of course, continue to follow this story and get you more information on those injured as we get it.
So where exactly is Sutherland Springs? It's about 21 miles southeast of San Antonio, near Lavernia. The population of this town, just under 650 people back in 2010.
President Trump tweeting out today, "May God be with the people of Sutherland Springs. The FBI and law enforcement are on the scene. I am monitoring the situation from Japan."
The governor is also on his way to Sutherland Springs, as we mentioned, to this news conference. He released a statement on the shooting, saying in part, quote, "While the details of this horrific act are still under investigation, Cecilia and I want to send our sincerest thoughts and prayers to all those who have been affected by this evil act. I want to thank law law enforcement for their response and asked that all Texans pray for the Sutherland Springs community during this time of mourning and loss.
We will, of course, continue to stay on top of this story and bring you the very latest as we get it right here on 4, online at news4sa.com and on our social media pages. A live picture right there. If you're just joining us at about 11:30 this morning, a man walked in with a gun into the First Baptist Church in Sutherland Springs and opened fire. At this point, we have confirmed that more than 24 people are dead and several others injured. 10 people right now being treated here in San Antonio hospitals. At this point, we are told that the gunman is dead. Trying to learn more about the motivation, what would cause him to inflict such horror on a small, peaceful town during early Sunday morning services. We are awaiting a press conference that should happen within the next hour to bring us more details on what led to this horror.
We want to tell you, first of all, the one person we have confirmed who was killed was Annabelle Pomeroy, and she is actually the teenage daughter of the preacher at that church, Frank Pomeroy. He was driving back from Oklahoma today when he got the news, confirmed that to us. 14-year-old daughter, of course, he is crushed, called her the best person that he knew. We also have confirmed some of the others who were injured, and we want to show that video to you right now. That is Ryland, who was 6 years old. Ryland Ward, shot 4 times in surgery. Emily there on the right, Rihanna on the left. This is Brooke, who is 6, and the aunt Joanne Ward. Now, it can tell you now that Ryland is in surgery, shot 4 times. Emily on the right there is 8. She is also in surgery. The family didn't actually know where. That is Brooke. She is still officially listed as missing, along with Joanne, who is her mom. Joanne is also the mother of Brooke and Emily, and Ryland she's Ryland's stepmother. And this is just so sad. We again have learned a little bit about the victims. We're trying to confirm more, but as you've been hearing throughout this newscast, as a lot of people are down there doing, we are here too. Just pray for all those victims. As soon as we get more information, we'll bring it to you here on 4. Back to you.
We're also getting reports out of Guadalupe County where an SUV crashed soon after the shooting. That's where we find News 4 San Antonio's Yami Virgen. She's live. What are you seeing there, Yami?
Good evening, Robert. I'm going to step out of the way right now. Guadalupe County officials are blocking the road. This is FM 39, the 2300 block. We're being told that this is where that chase ended. There is a vehicle still down there. Sources are telling us that the alleged shooter's body is still down there. About 30 minutes ago, I saw the head of DPS, McGraw, leaving here, heading back to that presser in town. Now, the neighbors here are telling us that they didn't actually hear a whole lot until the authorities came in and saw them getting ready, putting on their vests, getting their rifles to walk down to that area. We're also being told by neighbors close to the church that one of the neighbors heard the shooting inside the church, took a shot at the shooter, and then he jumped into another vehicle. Now, again, we believe this is where that chase ended, here on the 2300 block of FM 39 in Lavernia.
Now most of our church family is gone.
We've had a long night with our children and grandbabies that we have left.
It's just a horrific sight. I mean, you know, you don't expect to walk into a church and see something like that, especially like when all the bodies were still there, you know. And seeing the children, that's what hurts the most.
Please don't forget Sutherland Springs.
And we are broadcasting live from Sutherland Springs tonight. Good afternoon. This is a small town here where people are still trying to grapple with the effects of yesterday's mass shooting in the church.
That's right. Devin Kelly allegedly killed 26 people at First Baptist Church right over our shoulder tonight. And this town is still reeling. Wilson County Sheriff Joe Tackett saying 12 to 14 of those victims are kids. The youngest was just 17 months old.
All day we've seen investigators here, FBI agents retracing the suspect's footsteps behind me, ATF agents coming and going, all trying to answer the question, why? Why did this have to happen? And right now it appears that the motive had to do with something in the suspect's domestic life.
They went to church in peace. A masked gunman violently stormed their sanctuary. 26 lives now gone.
I don't understand, but I know my God does.
The pastor and his wife didn't witness the bloodshed. They were traveling when they got word. Among the victims, their 14-year-old daughter, Annabelle.
And one thing that gives me a sliver of encouragement is the fact that Belle was surrounded yesterday by her church family that she loved fiercely.
Investigators now work to make sense of the senseless. The gunman's motive now emerging.
We can tell you that there was a domestic situation going on within this family. The suspect's mother-in-law attended this church. We know that he had made threatening texts from him.
But she was not at church when he opened fire. Investigators say Devin Kelly likely died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound as he led Good Samaritans and law enforcement on a car chase.
We know during that pursuit, the suspect used his cell phone to notify his father that he had been shot and didn't think he was going to make it.
The search into Kelly's past reveals a bad conduct discharge from the Air Force. The ATF now asking the military for documentation to learn how he was able to purchase guns.
Now most of our church family is gone.
As this small town,
Our building is probably beyond repair.
grieves a loss of innocence.
And the few of us that are left behind lost tragically yesterday.
It's so heartbreaking to hear, and if you think it's heartbreaking for us and for you at home, imagine being one of those deputies that walked inside the church, saw all the bodies. The Wilson County Sheriff says that his deputies are going to need a lot of counseling in the coming weeks, months, especially hit hard by seeing all the bodies of children in there.
All right, thanks, Emily. Of course, a lot of people here, as the governor said yesterday, are going to need a lot of counseling. There was one family that lost 8 members of that family yesterday, the Holcombs. They were from Floresville. And Brian Holcomb was the substitute pastor here yesterday. He, along with his wife, Carla, they were killed. So was their son, Danny, and his 17-month-old daughter, Noah. And their pregnant daughter-in-law, Crystal Holcomb, she was killed along with 3 of her 5 children. 3 other family members, though, survived the shooting.
Unbelievable. So much tragedy in this town, and still people are coming together. We can tell you just a couple of hours ago, the Floresville, Lavernia, and Stockdale school districts, all of them wrapped up a news conference to talk about the victims. They confirmed that 3 of their students did indeed die in this.
Do you all know how many students? It's devastating. It's very difficult for the families. Our staff members are just so upset. These children are their children, you know.
And so now to the victims who did survive this shooting. News 4's Mike Hernandez is live from University Hospital tonight, where we're told he just spoke with the family of a 5-year-old boy who was shot 5 times.
Yeah, Delane, 5-year-old Rylan remains in stable but serious condition here at University Hospital right behind me, but he is flanked by 20 members of his family that are there for him.
He's 5 years old. You know, he was shot 5 times. His legs, his stomach, his arms.
I caught up with Rylan's uncle, Earl McMahon, while he was donating blood in a makeshift blood donation area at University Hospital.
Right now they got him stable. They have him, you know, unconscious. He's not been able to move or anything till they get most of this main surgeries done. But he's in ICU. They're monitoring him very, very closely. He's got quite a bit wrong with him right now.
And as most of us could only imagine, Earl and his family are in shock and taking it 1 minute at a time.
You really can't put it into words. We're just blessed that he's alive. And, you know, there are so many that isn't. They were able to get him out and get him here and get him seen.
2 of Rylan's sisters and stepmom didn't make it out. And Rylan described seeing Rylan's father last night.
I seen him up here last night. He's, you know, dealing with Rylan upstairs, and he couldn't get any word at the time about his wife and his other daughters, you know, where they were taken, and then, you know, find out one of them was here. She was going through surgery. It's just hard.
All All right, thanks, Mike. Now to the latest on some of the other people who were shot but survived and in the hospital. University Hospital, along with Brooke Army Medical Center, treating those patients because they have a pediatric level 1 trauma center. University Hospital got all of the 4 children who were hurt. They were taken into surgery. Sadly, one of them did not survive.
The efforts to save that child were heroic. I mean, the surgeons, the nurses, the anesthesia staff, specialty staff were in there for about 3 to 3.5 hours trying to save this child.
University took in a total of 9 patients. The hospital says right now they can't release any details, but we do know that 3 adults and 3 children are still being treated there. Now, the hero who shot, there was a little gun battle right behind us across the street. We're learning more about that. He shot and then chased the gunman, Devin Kelly, who then died in a crash not far from here. Well, that hero is Stephen Williford, and he ran out of his house, wounded Kelly in that shootout. Investigators believed Kelly took his own life in his SUV then while being chased by Williford and Johnny Langendorf. And while Willendorf remains silent, well, he is still the talk of the town. On News 4 San Antonio, Zach Hedrick has more now.
Reports say the man who shot the church shooter is the man you see here, Stephen Williford. Neighbors tell me his family has lived in Sutherland Springs for at least 10 years, and probably longer than that. They describe him and his family as quiet, down-to-earth people. Investigators and neighbors here in Sutherland Springs are calling Williford and Johnny Langendorf heroes.
It took heart, took bravery to do what they did. I was glad that somebody did something about it, you know, until the cops could get there.
DPS has not yet confirmed if Williford was the Good Samaritan who confronted and shot back at Devin Kelly with his own rifle.
All right, thanks, Zach. Now, just within the past hour or so, I tracked down a man who saw this whole thing from the time when the man in black, Devin Patrick Kelly, got out of his car. He described it to me as an odd feeling. He saw a guy with a gun, but he wasn't sure because there are a lot of guns in this area. He thinks he ran all the way around with that gun, cased it. He went back into his store, and that's when he heard the gunfire. Listen.
We start hearing that. He was unloading. It's like he wouldn't take that finger off the trigger. I guess he had already entered the church and started killing everybody.
All right, we're also learning new information about that shooter tonight, and News 4 troubleshooter Jay Avila has more on that. Jay?
Delane and Randy here in New Braunfels. They're just kicking off Worst Fest, but the mood has been dampened by the news that Devin Kelly grew up here and was living here right up until the time of this weekend's shooting. In fact, he had worked as a security guard at Schlitterbahn over the summer. On a remote stretch of FM 2722 outside New Braunfels, Comal County Sheriff's vehicles blocked the driveway to the Kelly family property, where Devin Kelly lived with his wife and child. Kelly graduated from New Braunfels High School in 2009 and trained in karate along with his father at a karate school here. Devin Kelly was dishonorably discharged from the Air Force in 2014 for domestic violence against his wife and child. That offense did not come up on his record, say Schlitterbahn officials, when the water park hired him in June of this year.
He was working here very briefly, 5.5 weeks over the summer as a seasonal employee. He was an unarmed night security guard. So that's going around, checking that gates are locked, those kinds of things.
How come he had to be terminated?
He was terminated. He wasn't a right fit for our company.
And that's a big issue here, is how he was able to buy 4 guns, one apiece each over the last 4 years. As the governor said this morning, he did not have a license to carry in Texas, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can't buy one.
That's right.
So he was able to buy because the Air Force now admits they did not submit the required paperwork to the Pentagon.
You're looking live now at San Fernando Cathedral downtown, where a mass is being held for the victims of the Sutherland Springs church massacre. People from all over the world are mourning this senseless loss of life. We've also just learned that Vice President Mike Pence will be visiting Sutherland Springs coming up on Wednesday.
Robert Price here at the live desk, where we are learning more about the 26 victims who were killed yesterday in Sutherland Springs. Again, half of them children. But let's start off with an update about one of the survivors. This is a picture of 5-year-old Ryland Ward. Ryland shot 5 times inside First Baptist Church. Earlier in this newscast, we played you part of an interview with his family. They say he underwent emergency surgery yesterday. He is now out of surgery. He's unconscious, but he is listed in stable condition. Now here's a picture of his stepmom, 30-year-old Joanne Ward. Joanne was shot inside the church and did not survive. Described by relatives as a wonderful mom who gave her children a loving life. This is Joanne's daughter, Brooke. She was also killed inside the church. Brooke was just 5 years old. We've seen several pictures of her now, and she was smiling in every single one of them. This is a picture of Joanne's other daughter, Emily. Emily was 8 years old. She was shot inside the church, taken to the hospital, but died in surgery. That makes 3 members of one family dead, a mother and 2 young daughters, with her young son recovering in the hospital.
We want to show you just a little example now of the huge outpouring of support from all over this area. Really, it's coming from across Texas, the country, and around the world. But as we drive around here, we're seeing first responders from San Antonio, from San Marcos, Austin, Del Rio, even as far away as New York City here, are helping this community, helping feed this community.
We feel compelled to come out here and do it because for the last 40 years, that's all I've been doing is helping people. And that's, I feel compelled to do something. And this is what I feel these people need. They need a lot of help. They need strength and they need prayer.
Hey, that's a song.
And just that group alone says they'll be out here for the next 4 or 5 days. Talked to a number of people who have just driven down here, especially from San Antonio, just to pray, just to talk with people if they can to help out.
You know, earlier today, Randy, we caught up with a man and his son from San Antonio, also felt compelled to help. And so what they decided to do was get to work last night. And in one night, they made all of those crosses, 26 of them, of course, to represent each one of the victims. He says it was an incredibly emotional project for both him and his son.
Nobody realizes when you have a stack of 26 items, you can't visualize that until you actually have something to represent that. And so when you start seeing 26 sticks that we mounted them on, 26 crosses, that's amazing on what tragedy happened here.
So we also understand that a vigil is going to be held tonight at those crosses at 7 o'clock tonight. People are going to gather. They're going to remember each one of the victims. But like he said, you have one cross that represents each victim. And when they're all lined up like that, it really makes this real.
Robert Price back here at the live desk, where we continue to get more pictures of those 26 victims killed yesterday in Sutherland Springs. We've now confirmed the woman in this picture, Lula White, was killed yesterday. She was the grandmother-in-law of the suspected gunman, Devin Patrick Kelly. According to friends and according to her Facebook profile, Lula was a frequent volunteer at the First Baptist Church. Also killed inside the church, 16-year-old Haley Kruger. Her mother says Haley loved life and she wanted to become a nurse, an intensive care nurse for newborn infants. Again, the youngest victim killed yesterday, 17 months old. The oldest, 77. As more of them are identified, we will continue to share them and their stories here on 4.